Last week, the government forgave or announced that they're forgiving $10,000 up to $20,000 in student debt. I posted this on Facebook, and there was a lot of debate whether or not that was a good idea or a bad idea, whether it would contribute to inflation, whether it would increase the debt, which obviously it will, how many people and how much it will help people. So I'm interested in what you think, whether you think that forgiving that debt was a good thing for the economy. Obviously, it's a good thing for the people that are getting debt forgiveness. I'm happy for those people that they got some of their debt forgiven. And it brought me back to a question that I've wondered over the years the question is college worth it? Is an MBA worth it? As I said in my post, my MBA was $50,000, which I paid for. I got a student loan for part of it, and then I paid that student loan off years ago. And I knew that this student loan forgiveness, I had a feeling that it was going to happen, or at least partially, like it did. But I paid off my student loan anyway. And there are multiple reasons for that. Mostly because I agreed to pay off that student loan. I agreed that if I'm taking out that loan, that I should pay it back. It was kind of an integrity thing and a peace of mind thing that I wanted to be able to say that I paid it off and not have to worry about it. Since I paid it off years ago, I don't want to have that debt hanging over me. And I'm a big believer in being debt free, having no debt except maybe a house mortgage. And it's given me a lot of peace of mind not having that debt, even knowing that potentially it could be forgiven in the future. And is it worth it? And I've got kids that someday are going to go to college, and I'm preparing them in school. And I've thought a lot about whether or not the traditional track that I was raised on, you go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, then you get a graduate degree. Almost everybody in my family has at least one postgraduate degree. Some of them have two. Education is a big thing. But the world's changed since I was growing up, and it's going to change a lot in the next 10 or 20 years. So I wonder is that $50,000 of debt that I took on worth it? And I'm not sure it is. I think it depends on the profession that you're going into. If you're going to be a doctor or an engineer, you definitely have to have that kind of education in order to do that career. But there are a lot of other fields where it's just not necessary. You can get the training in other ways that is a lot less expensive. Last year I was at Costco talking to one of the checkers there, and he told me that he started working at Costco when he was 17, and he was probably in his 40s. And I thought to myself, he probably has, if he has been contributing to his 401k since he was 17 over the last 30 years, he probably has a pretty good nest egg if he was smart about it. He didn't go to college. He didn't get an MBA. He worked the same job, getting promoted year after year, putting away money year after year into his 401k. I thought, potentially this bagger at Costco could have more money than I do. And I went to school. I got a degree in finance. I got an MBA. I've had some good jobs, but I didn't start putting money into a 401k when I was 17. That's for sure. And I spent $50,000 on an MBA, and he didn't spend any. So he could have taken that same amount of money and allocated it, instead of making payments to a student loan, and put it into his 401k, put it into his savings, and let that compound for 10, 20, 30 years. And take 10% of his income and let that compound for a long amount of time. And over 30 years, it really adds up. So when we look at people, I don't think it's fair to just look at the profession and think, yeah, that's the profession that's going to make a lot of money. When I was a financial planner, I was really surprised when I met with people that if you've ever read the book The Millionaire Next Door, he talks about how the people that we think are really wealthy, like doctors and lawyers, aren't necessarily the wealthy ones in society. And I found that to be true as a financial planner, as I met with multiple people like plumbers or a guy that owned a used car lot that made so much money you wouldn't believe it, like a very, very healthy income, top 1% of incomes, doing things that society looks down on, like being a plumber. He owned his own business. He had a crew that worked for him. He had a business that brought in money from him working and other people working. I have another neighbor who has a drywall business that has a huge house in a really nice neighborhood, one of those businesses, one of those professions that people look down on and think, oh yeah, they're doing drywall, manual labor. That guy's a plumber, but they own their own business. They have very good income because they have a specialized, unique skill that they can apply. They usually don't have student loans, college debt that they're paying off for years and years, especially if you go to one of these top colleges where the tuition is $100,000 or $150,000 a year. And a lot of times, a lot of it's online, so fewer people are wanting to do that. They just graduate from high school and get to work and start saving money and let that compound and grow their business, increase their income, and over time that can be substantial. So I think that's something that as a society that we can look at the value of education and make sure that we calculate the ROI on that education. If I'm going to go get a degree, am I going to earn enough money, number one, to pay that back in a timely manner and have enough money left over to put into investments and savings? And then also, am I going to be able to grow in my career? Is it going to be worth it? And getting an MBA for me, I'm not so sure if that was worth it, if it really helped me that much. It was nice to have, but I found as I'm in the workforce that because education has been so prevalent and so easy to get because of student loans, government-backed student loans, that it's kind of diluted the value of higher education. Everybody in the workforce, it seems, has an MBA. Everybody has a college degree if you're working white collar. So you have to, even then, if you've got those, you have to differentiate yourself in your service or your quality of work or your networking, and stand out and provide a unique service that other people aren't providing, because kind of everybody has the same pedigree. So there are other avenues that we can do that don't necessarily include higher education. So that's my 2 cents. What do you think? Number one, tell me this. Number one, should the government be forgiving student loans? I know there are a lot of problems in education, higher education, and it costs way too much. That's kind of a separate issue. And then, is college for everybody? What do you think? Is college for you? Will college be right for your kids? Do you think that's something we should be emphasizing for everybody? So comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.